All right, what's going on, everyone? It's Friday, March 18th, and we are back at it again with another episode of The Hustle Daily Show. I'm Zachary Crockett, and I'm here with Juliet Bennett-Ryla.
Hey, what's up?
And our head of social, Nicole Phillip.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Always good to have you on. Today on the show, we're going to go deep on this whole daylight saving thing. Why do we have it in the first place? What economic impact does it have on businesses? And is it finally time to get rid of the damn thing? We've got a lot to say, and that's not all. A little later, Nicole's going to share her take on the great return to the office. And we're finally going to weigh in on this whole Kim Kardashian words of advice for women in business thing. But before we get into all that, let's do the news.
Hey everybody, it's John from the Hustle Daily Show. Before we get into the news today, did you know that HubSpot launched an AI chatbot that helps you build awesome campaigns at scale with just a few prompts? It's called Campaign Assistant, and it's a totally free-to-use AI tool that will transform the way that you build marketing campaigns at scale. And the best part? It works seamlessly with all of HubSpot's marketing and sales tools to scale your output across email, social, and more. So AI your way into the most effective campaigns yet at HubSpot.com/campaign-assistant.
Mortgage rates hit 4% for the first time since 2019. Now, this isn't directly related to the Federal Reserve's interest rate hike earlier this week, but it's all kind of tied in. Mortgage rates track the yield on 10-year Treasury bonds, which are heavily influenced by investor behavior, inflation, and, well, pretty much everything else that's going on in the world right now. So what's this mean for potential home buyers? Well, let's say you take out a $200,000 loan paid out over 30 years. If the rate goes up even just 1%, say from 3% to 4%, you're paying about $100 more a month. And that's potentially as much as $30,000 over the course of that full 30 years. So 1% is a very big difference there. In other news, Google agreed to buy Raxium, a hardware company that builds tech for AR devices. The price was not disclosed, but previous talks centered around a $1 billion price point. And this acquisition does make us wonder if Google glasses are going to make a comeback. Probably not. They're pretty lame. And lastly, Netflix wants to get rid of so-called family freeloaders. The company is testing out a new feature in Chile, Peru, and Costa Rica that would crack down on family members and friends sharing account passwords with people in different households. According to an analysis by the research firm Parks Associates, password piracy cost streaming services more than $9 billion in 2019 alone. All right, let's move along here. So the Senate just passed the Sunshine Protection Act. And if this thing's cleared by the House and signed by the president, it's basically going to make daylight savings time permanent as of November 2023. To start off here, Juliet, you want to fill us in on a little bit on the history of daylight saving? Like, why is this even a thing to begin with?
So a lot of people think that it was to help farmers or that Benjamin Franklin came up with it. He actually did joke once that if we got up with the sun, it would save money on candles and lamp oils. But it was actually formally adopted in 1918, at least in the United States, to conserve energy during World War I. They did it again during World War II. And then after that, some states kept it, some didn't. Chaos reigned. And then finally in 1966, the Uniform Time Act established daylight saving time and standard time for the nation. So everybody was pretty much on the same page, except for like Alaska and Hawaii and currently parts of Arizona. So basically, there are several negatives that people have pointed out that come with flip-flopping time twice a year. It impacts our mental health. It screws up our sleep. Research has indicated that there are increases in fatal accidents, heart attacks, stroke. Sleepy employees who slack off more on the day after they lose an hour because they're tired or they're more prone to injuries or accidents. It's also harder to sync up with our global colleagues, many of whom do not practice DST. And to that end, there was one great example of this. The Airport Transport Association argued that a 2-month extension would cost the U.S. airline industry $147 million with all the confusion going on internationally. Wow. We extended it anyhow.
So, what other economic costs are we looking at associated with daylight savings? How does this impact the economy?
One study estimated the economic cost at $433.9 million.
Okay.
They came to that amount from figuring out the economic costs of injuries, accidents, lost productivity, medical issues, and then applying it to about 300 metro areas in the United States.
Wow. Okay. So, Nicole, for instance, just walked into her printer a couple of minutes ago. Would that count as a daylight savings injury? Or
I don't know. Nicole, would you say that you are extra tired this week?
I would love to blame it on daylight savings, but it seems like I operate on tired at all times. And so I could also probably just blame this on complete lack of coordination and awareness of what's in my home.
Okay,
sorry
fair.
to call you out there, Nicole.
No problem.
And according to a 2019 poll, 70% of Americans want the clock to stay put. They want to get rid of this thing. But 40% want a permanent standard time, while 30% are forever. What does DST mean exactly?
Daylight saving time, which for many years of my life I thought was daylight savings time, and apparently it is not, and I still say it that way.
I say that too.
Right.
It makes no sense. Daylight saving time?
Yeah, but essentially we just get extra sun in the evening. So the people that are like pro daylight saving time, they say that like people will hang out later at night. You'll go out after work. Case in point, my farmer's market on Tuesday that I went to was popping. Like it was more people there than I've ever seen because, it was still light outside. In the 1980s, golf businesses really wanted daylight saving time because they figured that people would play an estimated 19 million more rounds of golf in the 7-week period, that it was potentially going to be extended, which is more money for them. Clorox wanted it because they were making charcoal for barbecues, and they were like, oh yeah, we're going to make an extra $100 million because people are going to be barbecuing. The people who wanted it like a lot were candy companies because they wanted that extra hour for Halloween for trick-or-treating. But like, as you might notice, these are all outdoor activities. And that's interesting because a PNC analyst was saying those are really the only businesses that are likely to be positively affected because everyone else has standard operating hours anyhow. So it's really like the being outside and the sunshine businesses that would benefit the most. And then opposed to that are ski resorts because they would have to open later. Schools, they say it's more dangerous for kids to walk to school in the dark mornings. And TV networks because with people outside, they're losing their evening viewers. Farmers, who are often blamed for this whole thing, they don't actually even like it because it messes with animals' sleep schedules. And convenience stores want us to flip-flop back and forth because on those tired days, people are more likely to come in and buy more coffee and get more snacks. So,
wow,
different things benefit different people.
I wonder who are they placing this bet on that people will do more with more light because millennials, we aren't doing too much. We'd rather stay inside. Like a few years ago, there was some research from Mintel that roughly 3 out of every 10 millennials just prefer being at home, drinking and not closing up under their blanket and watching Netflix. So is that going to make a difference for a large portion of the country who already would rather not be outside anyway? I wonder.
Yeah, I'm not golfing. I'm not going out golfing.
Yeah, I'm surprised only 3 out of 10 want to stay at home. What the hell are those other 7 people doing?
Yeah, I'm wondering. Maybe they don't have student loans holding them back from being outside and doing whatever it is that they want to do.
Yeah.
Because part of the reasoning was also like, they're more practical because they have other places they need to be spending their money, like on debt.
Sure.
There's all these different variables because there's also a bunch of studies that say that kids would learn better if we started school later. And so maybe they wouldn't even be walking in the dark. Like there's a lot of variables here. And what's weird is we already tried it. In 1974, we did a year-round DST.
Really?
There was a national gas crisis. People hated it. They hated the dark winter mornings. Studies now have shown we don't even really use less energy. So it's already been a failed experiment. And then there's all these sleep experts who are like, actually, it's standard time that is the one we should be doing because that would best match our circadian rhythm. So that's how we should be living our lives. So whatever the outcome, time is a flat circle. It doesn't even matter. We can monkey with it as much as we want. So I guess we'll just have to see what actually happens.
So either way, whether or not this bill passes, what I'm gathering here is that a large contingency of people are going to be very disappointed either way.
Yeah, basically. Yep.
Okay. Just like anything else, So, Nicole, I want to switch gears a little bit here. You recently wrote a really interesting op-ed in The Week about a certain aspect of work from home culture that's often overlooked. And as we're returning to the office, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, so here we are about 2 years since the start of the pandemic when many of us with the privilege of being able to work from home were sent home to work for what we thought would be 2 weeks. And here we are 2 years later. And working from home for a lot of people, it was great. It gave people who needed help with child or elder care an opportunity to take care of their loved ones, help some people find a cheaper place to live outside of their city. But working from home, not only does it provide a better work-life balance, but for Black people and people of color, people like me, it gave us a bit of a respite from microaggressions and the respectability politics that we often run into when we're in an office. So with that said, I myself would never want to have to be in an office, never want to be required again to be inside of an office. There's a freedom that comes with being able to be in your home, dress the way you want, speak the way you want, wear your hair the way you want without having to worry about, oh, is the VP whose office is right across the hall, are they going to like catch me when I do like this certain thing or wear this certain thing, speak this certain way? And is that going to then hurt my progress in this company? Is that going to contribute to any implicit bias or anything like that? And that's the lens that I look at returning to office from. I know that the president has been calling for a push for people to go back into the office, go back to regular life, get back to normalcy. But this is an aspect of the changes that we've seen with the pandemic that I'd kind of like to see stay.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I imagine those feelings are especially amplified in, the tech space where we obviously have systemic issues with representation in the workforce. But not having to worry about some of the things you just mentioned. I mean, do you find yourself just having like more mental clarity?
Yeah. So I actually recently wrote about this because not having to have the worries that come with how I present myself in an office and what people might think, I definitely feel more free to be myself. There's always that company survey that's like, can you bring your whole self to work? That's always a question
Right.
on some of these diversity surveys that we see. Maybe for other people where you're like, yeah, sure, why not? I feel like I can bring my whole self to work. But for me or for other people of color, other Black women, it's not as easy because the way I wear my hair, the way I wear my nails, the way I speak can alter how I'm perceived despite what my work might be. So when I'm working from home, sight mostly unseen, I can wear my nails the way I want to. Since we've started remote work for the past 2 years or so, I've been wearing my gold septum ring. My dreadlocks are way longer than they were in the beginning. I can wear brightly colored nails. I don't have to think about, oh, I have to be more conservative, only do nude nails this, don't wear clothes that look like this. I can focus more on my work and just let that speak for itself.
That's the sort of thing that I feel like a lot of white people, men especially, they don't really have to think about like their nail color or how their hair is or, they
Not at all. Yeah.
Not at all. Nobody's ever making judgments based on those kinds of things. Whereas, we hear about it all the time when it comes to women and especially people of color and especially Black women. Like how many articles have we read about someone's hair being deemed inappropriate for the workplace, even though that has literally no bearing on the kind of work that they do?
Yes, exactly. And now we have the opportunity to work even camera off in some cases when we're on meetings. So at that point, there's only so much you can judge a person on, and their work is then placed above. It's placed at a higher importance than what they look like when they walk into the office, the shoes that they're wearing, maybe the colloquialisms or the vernacular that they might use while they're speaking for the most part, because there's just less pressure. If I walk into my kitchen, I'm not going to bump into the CEO or the VP and suddenly have to, worry about how I decided to dress this morning. None of that's going to happen, but they will see my work for what it is.
Right.
Which can be a good and a bad thing in some cases, because then you do end up with a situation where some people don't get the face time that they might want in order to advance and succeed. So there is a catch-22 there. I'm not saying it's all great to never go into an office, but I am saying that there is that benefit for Black people and people of color to not have certain extreme judgments that we might have in an office.
Yeah, and also I feel like working from home should not be the only solution to this problem. I mean, the real problem is that offices and work culture is often a toxic place, and there are a lot of severe underlying issues that need to be addressed.
Yeah. In an ideal world, we wouldn't have to deal with these implicit biases, and people can show up literally, as we've mentioned earlier, bringing their whole self. But until then, this is a great alternative to allow people the choice to work from home. Even if companies decide to do some sort of hybrid work, at least giving people that option to stay behind the scenes, in a sense, behind the camera off, stay at home, giving them that option would be great.
Sure.